I wanted to talk to you about the importance of transformation. I've been doing a lot of thinking about transformation these last couple of months. I feel like as we kind of come out of weirdness and into new normal, whatever that is, we've all been kind of thinking about the changes and pivots that we've done in our lives. And I've really been kind of thinking about this idea of transformation and the importance of it. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about for just a few minutes this morning. Butterflies and felons and transformation. When we think about butterflies, it's so funny that most of us kind of revert back to this idea of the very hungry caterpillar. I remember reading that story when I was little, of the caterpillar that was born and then, munch, 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 ate all the things and then turned into a butterfly. And I think it's kind of a beautiful story, but it skips the most important part. And that is the painful part in the middle. The part that a lot of us tend to find ourselves in more often than not the beginning where we're, brand new, and not the very end when we turn into something beautiful, but that middle painful kind of messy part. And that's the part that's the most important. This isn't just a simple transformation for caterpillar to butterfly. While it looks really simple in the book and also in all of the imagery that we're shown kind of in the world, is that there's a caterpillar, there's a little bit of time in a chrysalis, and then there's a butterfly. But it's not a simple transformation. Yes, all of those things happen. The caterpillar is born and they eat like 17,000 times their weight. Kind of like me in the early stages of 2020. And then they shed their skin to form a chrysalis. That happens. But how does the middle portion happen? This is something that I've been thinking about a lot. And so I started doing some reading a couple of months back. Like, what exactly happens in the messy middle for a caterpillar between when they are a worm, essentially, and when they have wings? So what happens actually is there are enzymes that completely dissolve their body. So the caterpillar crawls into the chrysalis, and while they're in there, literally they are dissolved down to nothing. If you cut it open, they would be caterpillar soup in that chrysalis. They completely dissolve into this goo. And that soup is what feeds what is called the imaginal discs, the cells that were inside them from the very beginning that were meant to become their body parts, their legs, their wings, their thorax. So all of those pieces were already inside them in their cells. And so what happens is they build this little shell, this little chrysalis, and the enzymes break down everything else into this caterpillar soup and starts to feed those pieces that were always inside them. It's kind of a really beautiful way to think about it, that they have to unbecome something to become something else. Oof, that was a little heavy when I first started learning about that. I started realizing, right, they have to let go, not only just let go, but they have to unbecome something in order to become something else, let go of what they were to become what they were meant to be. What a beautiful and important way to realize that middle, really painful bit, that dissolving you down into caterpillar goo, is so important in the process. They have to completely dissolve, unbecome, in order to become something else. So there's a ton of transforming that has to take place to get here to the butterfly. And I think that's really beautiful and important. So that's my first story about transforming. I want to share a second story with you about transforming today as well. I want to introduce you to my friend here. She went to college in the late 50s and 60s. So, kind of like in a period of time where women weren't necessarily, looked at as important in the workplace. So she got a degree in architectural history. And then she modeled for Chanel, and she did cigarette ads in order to pay for her tuition. So this is a woman sort of in that 50s and 60s where, kind of coming into an era where women are just starting to have a voice, taking a degree in architectural history, which isn't really one of those sort of like winning degrees, right, isn't going to really kind of put you on the path to some great career, and was doing cigarette ads to pay for her tuition. And then she spent a 5-year stint as a Wall Street stockbroker, which is just such an amazing and interesting transformation from cigarette ads and Chanel and college with an architectural history degree to working as a Wall Street stockbroker. And then you've probably clued in who this is by now. She was catering a party for her husband's boss, and she was sort of discovered. Her husband's boss, was like, "Oh, have the little woman do a little spread for us." And someone at the party said, "Wow, you're amazing." And she was asked to do a cookbook. And then Martha turned her love of gourmet cooking and creative presentation into what became, over time, Martha Stewart Living Omni Media, a multi-billion-dollar media empire. And then she did some jail time for insider trading, as you do. But that was just this much of her story. This much. Because then, after jail, she rebuilt her name and her brand from almost the ground up at age 65, completely started over, and not only became successful, but more successful. She completely revamped her image in her mid-70s, and she sold her media corporation for billions of dollars, sort of took on this entirely new persona as someone who is hip and cool and interesting. And now in her 80s, she has TV shows. She's investing in wine. She's in real estate development. She is partnering with the Hallmark Channel. She has all kinds of interesting partnerships. She's now an ambassador for a cannabis company. And at 81, she is opening a restaurant in Vegas. So think of all of the ways that this woman has transformed, from in the 50s, going to college, doing cigarette ads to pay for her tuition, to a multi-billion-dollar media empire that started with cookbooks, to prison, and then to all of the things that she's now doing with a totally different persona and a totally different outlook on life. And now even partnerships that, years ago, people would have said she would never partner with the Hallmark Channel or a cannabis company. And here she is doing that. So what have we learned from both of these stories, both the Caterpillar and Martha Stewart? Well, there are 4 lessons I want to share with you about transformation that I have learned that I hope will kind of kickstart this day for you. And the first one is this: one transformation is a boring story. Interesting people transform often. Who says that you have to be one thing and stay that one thing forever? Who says you can't start a totally new career or a hobby or a whole new life or a whole new persona at any point? And who says you can't do that over and over again? You can transform into whatever you want as many times as you want. There is no rule saying you were born to be one thing and you're going to end up being that one thing. One transformation is a boring story. Interesting people transform often. The second lesson I want to share with you is this: you already have everything you need. Just like the caterpillar, all your imaginal discs are inside you. And I just love that that's what they're called inside a caterpillar. All those pieces that are going to become wings and thorax and legs, they're called imaginal discs. Like the pieces that we can imagine into life are already inside us. So I want you to remember, as you sit and you listen to all of the super smart and amazing people that are going to share today, I want you to remember that you are not there to get the secret sauce. You are here to discover your own. You already have all the ingredients you need inside you. The third lesson is this: it is not too late. Martha transformed in her 60s and her 70s and now her 80s. So often we think it is too late for us. We think, I don't know what else I would do or what else I would be, but it's not too late. It is never too late to transform. So for those of you that maybe are listening to great ideas today and you're like, that would have been great if I started that earlier in my career, or if I'd maybe done that before, it is never too late to transform. In fact, I would challenge you that it is the perfect time to transform at any point, to unlearn and relearn. And that leads me to my 4th lesson today, and that is sometimes it really is as much about unlearning as it is about learning. Sometimes we have to dissolve something all the way down to the soupy bits. We have to turn into caterpillar soup. We have to go through that sort of messy and uncomfortable middle. Sometimes we have to stop listening to those voices that say, this is how it's supposed to be. Unlearning is as important as learning. Today, I want you to approach all of it with an open mind. The most beautiful thing that I think happens at Genuine Hustle is everybody shares. Be willing to transform your thought process. Listen to everyone, bring everything in, and don't sit there with a filter on thinking, I could do that, or I couldn't do that, or that's meant for me, or that's not meant for me. You already have everything you need, and it's not too late. You might have to unlearn something in order to transform, but I encourage you to sit in the audience today and listen to new ideas with wonder. Wonder is the thing that will transform us the fastest and the easiest. And by wonder, I mean sit there and instead of thinking that won't work, or I don't think I could do that, think, I wonder what would happen if it did, or if I became that. There is true magic in transformation. And I hope each and every one of you finds that magic today. I wish I could be there to hug all of you in person, but I cannot wait to see the magic that comes out of these sessions today. Go and become butterflies.